So from a landscape photography perspective, what's better, a gear head or a ball head? Let's find out. So I'm here at Cedar Hill State Park in Texas, and I was shooting a composition that I've been eyeing for a while. It's this windmill, and yeah, I just really like this, and I've really wanted to capture a windmill for a long time, and so I've done so. But really got me thinking about the difference between a gear head and a ball head. And the truth is that there's really no easy answer on this, and it's probably why there's really not a lot of good comparisons out there on YouTube about this. So sometimes I use the gear head, sometimes I use the ball head. It just depends on the situation. But there are some particulars that are, pretty important to consider before you just jump into a gear head or you jump into a ball head. All right, so the best thing about a gear head is its flexibility and its precise control of every single axis on the gear head. And yeah, you can do that with a ball head, but not as precisely as you can. You can make gross adjustments or very minor fine tuning on your gear head. And this is perfect for those of us like me that are pretty particular about the corners of the composition, every little detail of the composition, what's coming into the composition. And so you can really precisely frame up your image by controlling the gear head. Now, there's different gear heads, and I'm not getting into the specifics or the specs of the gear head. There's plenty of videos out there and information on that. What I want to talk about is the practicality of a gear head versus a ball head for a landscape photographer specifically. So which one's better? And really, I think it comes down to personal choice. But the difference for the gear head is that you can throw a heavy lens on here, and you can throw a small lens on here. It doesn't matter what kind of camera lens combination you have. There's no drop in this. Most ball heads have some drop when you get that camera on there and you get the ball head locked in. There's a little drop. A gear head has none of that. It's just perfect. When you get your camera set where you want it, you just let go, and that's it. Now, that's probably the big advantage. And this setup on this Gitzo, I mean, I've got all axes here. I can move this thing around and rotate it, tilt it. Obviously, I can even pan the head. But the big advantage to this is once I get the ball head level, and I don't have to move my tripod, that's another video, but I can get this ball head level, lock it down, and then whatever I do, if I'm shooting panos, these are just super great for panos. Although I'm not a big pano shooter, but who knows in the future. But that's not why I really use it. I really use it to get precise control over my composition. But I can take this gear head, and I think this is super important, because one of the big advantages of the ball head is that you can just put the camera on there and you can really get that camera in position really quick. But this gear head, you can kind of do that, but truly that is an advantage in the ball head. But basically, I've got a couple of knobs here that I can just slip loose, and I can also release my panning head here. And what that'll allow me to do is when my camera is on here, I can position it anywhere I want really quickly. And once I've got that gross adjustment there, I just lock these down. I can perform fine adjustments on the head itself. That's the big advantage of the gear head. From a landscape photographer perspective, the advantages are precise control of your camera. You can really frame up that image very precisely. I think the biggest disadvantage is the gear head's typically heavier than a ball head, although that may not be the case depending on the gear head that you select. But and I have this on my heavier Gitzo, so I don't carry it on I carry a ball head on my travel tripod. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the ball head. All right, depending on your setup, if you have something like this, I mean, I can pretty easily, just by twisting a few knobs here a couple times on my Gitzo, one of the reasons I really favor Gitzo, but I can kind of just loosen that up, and then I can detach. I can find the button. Yeah, I can detach the entire assembly, then I can just throw my ball head right in and just tighten it down. And now that's pretty handy. And you could have the same base, everything, the swivel, however your setup is, you could have all of that on your tripod ready to go, or on your, excuse me, on your ball head. But that's up to you how you want to do that. But once you get this locked in, Really Right Stuff has some good things also. So once you get this locked in, you can pretty much, just regular ball head, you're ready to go here. And that's the thing. I think the thing with the ball head and the main difference between the gear head, once I throw my camera on there and start moving this, I mean, I can get this thing into position very quickly and just lock it down with one knob, versus having to control various knobs, basically 3 knobs to get the camera where I want it at, lock those down. Then I use 2 knobs for precise adjustment. With a ball head, I can simply put my camera on. I've got 1 knob. I've got my tension adjustment here that can control my kind of the drag here on the ball head. But once I get that set, I put that camera on here, get it in position, I've got 1 knob to lock that down, and that's it. And that's really the difference. So what's the bottom line between the two? Really, it comes down to personal preference. I mean, if you're the kind of person that's maybe not as patient as you should be, and you like to really just get going and moving, maybe the ball head's the better choice for you. But if you're the kind of person who's a little bit more patient and you're willing to go through some extra movements here to get more precise, fine-tuned control, then maybe the gear head's for you. But the one thing that concerns everybody is kind of that camera drop. When you load that camera up, you finally get the ball head tight, and then you let go, especially if you're shooting at a downward angle, then that ball head just drops a little bit. Well, honestly, I don't think that's much of a concern. Truly, I use good ball heads. I don't think you could go wrong. If you're using a real quality ball head, there's little to no drop. And with this Gitzo ball head, I really have very little drop. Even with my travel tripod, it's very little drop, but there is some. And I think it's just depends on you and what you're willing to put up with. But and the gear head is quite a bit heavier. But bottom line, I think it's personal preference. Well, that's it. I really wanted to get a short video out on the difference between a gear head and a ball head, and I hope this was able to help you make a better decision. But mainly this is from a landscape photographer perspective. I mean, if you're an action photographer and or maybe a wildlife photographer, maybe the gear head isn't the best for you. But I mostly shoot still images, waterfalls, things like this windmill. So the gear head, it's a better choice for me. And truth is that when I do have it, and I do have a choice, I have the tripod set up where I can take either one. Sometimes I take the ball head, but more often than not, I take the gear head. And I'm truly a gear head fan. And most people, I think, once you go to a gear head, you don't go back to a ball head. But that's my opinion, and I'll leave that to you to decide. Well, I hope my composition comes out nice. I was really hoping to capture some red hue in the sky, and I think I was able to do that this morning. Although the sky wasn't as spectacular as I wanted it to be, sometimes we can't have everything we want, but I'll take what I got. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. But if you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. And drop me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. And as always, if I don't see you down the road, maybe I'll see you on the trail.